Okay, next up we have Hannah Rozendo with Puna, Hawaiʻi, Conserving Bicultural Legacies. Bicultural Legacies.
So everyone, I think it might be set up to auto advance. Yeah. Thank you. She doesn't want it, doesn't it? Hi everyone, my name is Puna, and I'm a master's candidate in tropical conservation biology and environmental science at the University of Hawaiʻi Hilo. My undergraduate work was completed at California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo, California, and I majored in field and wildlife biology there with an emphasis in California botany. And since completing my bachelor's degree, I've been fortunate to work in conservation science and education on the central and south coast of California. It was through these experiences that I discovered a goal of bringing together field biology and anthropology, a term that I now know is called biocultural conservation. Here in Hawaiʻi, I live in the district of Puna, and my aim is to build relationships here for place-based biocultural conservation work. Puna is rich with resources from lowland wet forests and coastal zones Makai, up Mauka to the slopes of Mauna Loa at Kilauea, and a wealth of cultural history, including adaptive agriculture, exquisite craftsmanship, and fisheries practices. But before we get any further into exploring Puna, I would like to introduce you to a symbol from the Akan tribe of Guam. It's called a Sankofa bird with its feet planted forward towards the future, but eyes reflective on the past, nurturing its egg or present values. For me, this is a reminder that conservation is not just about the present or even the future. The past is equally valuable, and especially to people who have ancestors and roots in that place. Much of current conservation work is not just about the present. Much of current conservation work is, or at least feels, disconnected from the local communities, exclusive of indigenous knowledge, and poorly communicated to others outside of the field of study. However, there are broad benefits to community-driven conservation work, and it will help normalize conservation actions in our present and future society. Most importantly, local communities will benefit, especially youth as they mature and are mentored in this environment of reciprocity with nature. These children will grow into adults with the appreciation and practice of caring for the natural world around them. Community-driven biocultural conservation also provides for subsistence gatherers and harvesters. In Hawaiʻi, they might be fishermen, kalo farmers, hunters, or cultural practitioners of healing, or hula, and others. This relationship with nature also benefits non-human members of our communities, such as the plants and animals, soil, and natural structures where people live. In protecting these places, humans can also benefit from ecosystem services they provide. Community-driven biocultural conservation can provide insights for researchers too. Kupuna, or elders, are a resource that predates any survey work that can be done and can provide meaningful context for research questions. As I mentioned before, community-driven biocultural conservation is the only way for conservation practices to persevere and become a lifestyle. For Hawaiian culture, this principle has historic precedence and an unclear path forward in some places. My goal is to be a part of a community-driven biocultural conservation project in Puna, supporting the reciprocity that can exist between all members of the community. Additionally, I hope to enhance current practices of science communication by complementing indigenous knowledge and cultural practices with field biology methodologies. Community-driven biocultural conservation keeps resources local. It has the potential to reduce costs of travel and personnel with conservation projects and instead invest more in the place and its. So how do we implement effective conservation? Biocultural conservation and restoration work is important everywhere, but the community-driven nature of it is essential for longevity of any conservation project. On the next slide, I've outlined the stages of community-driven biocultural conservation. Understanding the traditions and origins of place, mostly via listening and kilo, which means thoughtful observations, evaluating the current status and participating in local culture of communities, and lastly, planning for the future sustainable care of the land by leaders of the area. Ideally, this results in more conservation and what the community wishes to be recorded and shared, I hope to help foster. Beginning this summer, I'll be working under the guidance of Puna nonprofit, Paku Pelamaka, and our work is based at Ka'akepa in the Ahupua'a of Malama. It's a very new endeavor for me, so I don't have all the answers yet, but I will do my best to answer any questions. Additionally, if you have any resources or delayed questions that you would like to share with me, I'm happy to receive those via email. And don't hesitate to reach out. I've been doing a lot of reaching out without hesitation lately, and it's paid off. So I highly encourage it. And I would love to hear any thoughts that you have on what I've shared today.
Does anyone have questions for Hannah? Yeah,
I just was wondering, I think you've done a really wonderful job of investing in place and choosing your research. But what I'm just sharing for everybody, but like, what are some of the skills you think that members and successfully built on? So that what's really working.
For me, I think there's three factors. First, and kind of what keeps me going is my insatiable curiosity. I always have questions, and I know that no one else can answer them for me sometimes. So I'm going to have to figure out the answers to those questions. So that kind of keeps me going. And then in terms of relationship building, I think the two most important factors are humility and honesty. I'm very new here. I only arrived in August, and I have so much to learn. I love saying, like, the more I learn, the less I know. So approaching people and spaces with that mentality puts me in the right mindset to listen and to observe. And so I have just been doing my best to kind of read the vibes of place and people and listen for what stands out to me and just trust my instinct to move forward in that way.
Good questions for Hannah? I have a question. What do you think could be improved about science communication? And how to apply that? You do have ideas.
One aspect that I think is overlooked very frequently is not only the capacity of youth to understand and explore science, but also the potential and necessity of youth to understand and explore science, because that's the future. I think that it can be done in any context, at home, at school, outside, inside, but I think that every community's focus should be on the youth. I think that's how you're going to invest in the future, and not only the future, but their families, community that surrounds you. So targeting science communication at youth and their families. I mean, the best way to, I think, to hear science is from a student, especially a young one. So I love learning from youth, and I frequently have more questions for them, which kind of spurs that reciprocal knowledge quest.
All right, Mahalo Nui, Hannah.